it's also where the biggest industrial buildup, economic buildup, are the forces at play setting up China to replace us down the road when they've spent us and we're done, and we can't afford to be the big military that does these people's bidding. Is that what we're seeing going on in China right now? Is that they're prepping them to be the mercenary army for the world bankers?
Yeah. Well, you know,
they're going to do the same thing like we did, to protect their ass all over the world for their own purpose.
You know,
and that's what we did. We went down to protect all our corporations all over the world, and so they can do whatever they want to piss off everybody, and now we pay for it.
Yeah, here's what I want to say. Two things. One, they is not defined. They being obviously the global network of financiers that basically prop up most of these governments, including ours. So that's the they. Let's just get it right up in the open as what generally we're talking about. There is a they. They don't call the shots. They try to. They have interests. One thing I'll say about China, well, two things really. The neocons, neoconservative view, Republicans and Democrats in this country, and the defense industrial complex, which is already frantically working to justify its existence. I mean, these wars that we've had, not only Iraq and Afghanistan, not in America's interest, but unpopular, very unpopular. Americans are not even interested in them. And every time a dead body of our guys, now we don't count the other ones, we never have counted the enemy dead bodies, but the ones that we count, which are our guys, come back in a box or come back damaged beyond all recognition. We cringe. Americans cringe. We are not proud of this. This is not patriotism. And you know, it's one thing to say, well, you know, libertarians have always felt this way, or anti-war people have always felt this way. But no, this is the mainstream view in this country. So the government, which depends on the military spending, help justify the military-industrial complex, which is its meat. You know, this is its lifeblood. Already recognizes the unpopularity of these wars, and they're working very hard to justify their future existence, both continuing and expanding the current wars. I mean, Libya. Does anyone think Obama thought Libya up on his own? Do you think he just woke up one day and said, oh my goodness, terrible things are going on in Libya. We need to take action. Absolutely he did not. This is a manufactured war that helps justify, you know, the gravy train. So, next big enemy, so we don't want to say about China. Next big enemy. Neoconservatives in the defense industrial complex in this country for a long time have expected that the next big warfare style, traditional style, behind last century's war enemy will be China. But here's what I want to say about China. This is a fact, what I just said. I mean, China is being set up to be the great next combination nation-state threat, terrorist threat. You know, because right now we don't have a nation-state threat. We have a terrorist threat, very ambiguous war against a tactic. You know, and that's been working for the executive and the Congress for some time now. It's growing a little bit weary. Next big nation-state threat will be made out to be China. I have no doubt about that. Iran has no way of carrying it, and so Iran kind of, you know, pooped out on us. Not very effective because it's a fourth-rate military power going broke and running out of oil. So Iran is not the threat they wanted. If China is a good threat, people are already complaining at Walmart high prices, and we can blame that on China too. It's a warfare tactic. So in any case, yeah, China's being made out to be that threat. But here's what I'm going to say about China. Very big, you know, former communist, certainly a corporate state operated entity. They speak lots of different languages there, not just one. I think there's something like 36 different recognized languages in China. They have a technique that they have perfected in the late 20th century, the second half, of promoting their own interests. And they do it in a very interesting way. They produce goods that people want to buy, and they negotiate rather than bomb with countries they want to operate out of. Okay? Sudan. Who do you think is getting most of the oil out of southern Sudan? Except for now, you know, we propped up a new state down there, which we hope that we will be able to leverage things with. But who's working African oil? Who's in Africa working their oil? And the neocons will tell you, oh my goodness, it's China, and they are the great nation. But what are they doing? Are they fighting in Africa to harvest it? No. They are simply trading, negotiating, talking, respecting. Okay, this is what Jefferson, Adams, and some of these guys would have said in the early 1800s when they run this, when they were presidents. This is how America's foreign policy should be: one of trade with all, peace and commerce, respect for others, not trying trying to tell them how to do their things, not criticizing them for their religion or anything else, but really just working together in the peaceful waves of the free market. This is what China is doing. Now, I think that is working for them. Their foreign policy is working for them. Their domestic policy is not working for them, okay? Because socialism and dictatorial type ways, corporate capitalism, is something that does not work over the long term. So China has problems domestically. China's foreign policy is what ours was 200 years ago. It works great, and that's the lesson we should take from China. I don't fear China. Now, I do fear neoconservatives making China out to be a great threat and using it to prop up more executive power and to maintain a large military. But I think going broke, if we can do it a little bit gracefully, which I think it'll happen gracefully, that will give us an opportunity to really give us a more constitutional defense force. So the defense force, the DoD's budget will be cut, and it should be done in context of the Constitution, in the context of what we really need the military to do. And I'm all for defense, and defense is mentioned as one of the primary roles of the federal government. I'd like to see them actually do that. Not build fences, not establish 75-mile inland buffer zones where farmers and ranchers can't even freely, traverse their own property for fear of, running into some sort of enforcement operation or being killed by drug pushers. That's, where's the, it's a very strange concept that our government has with defense, and we need to make it more constitutional. So that's the second thing on my list. Foreign aid and assistance. I know that somebody here has the new book. Many of you are reading it. The Ron Paul book, Liberty Defined. Liberty Defines Everybody. Good book. Can you get that on the thing? Because this is actually the model for my campaign, and it should be the model for everybody's campaign, whether they are a libertarian, independent, a Republican, or even a Democrat, okay? Because Ron Paul lays out these arguments, but what he says about foreign aid is that it really is, it needs to be cut. He says it takes from the poor in this country, gives to the wealthy government leaders of other countries. And that's not just, and that's not even just under FDR's definition of social justice, it's economic justice, it's not just. So we're going to see that cut. And the weird thing is, everything I've talked about so far, reducing budgets, reducing DoD, bring the troops home, stopping foreign aid or drastically reducing it, these are very popular topics. You don't have to be in a group of libertarians to see people's heads nodding, okay, when you talk about doing this. This is logic, okay? This is common sense. It's also very popular. So I trust Americans to, really, we're not all as stupid as we're made out to be. And I think a lot of the ideas we're coming around to are actually very much in line with the Constitution. So it all fits. IMF and World Bank funding, I'd like to see those ties severed, only because they've become so corrupt and impenetrable. We don't understand how the money is moved. Along with this, I'd like to rein in the Federal Reserve, or reduce the Federal Reserve Bank's ability to set interest rates. It's the most anti-free market thing I've ever heard of, to price money. That's what they're doing. They're pricing the cost of future money, or lent money. Okay? That's just insane that they think they can do that. And of course they know they can't do that. They arbitrarily do it to make the debt interest for the United States lower, among other things. I mean, seriously, think about it. If interest rates were 16% like they were in the early 80s, what do you think the deficit, the annual deficit of this country would look like on these monthly loans that they keep making? This is just insane. The free market, we wouldn't have a debt ceiling discussion if the free market interest rates were in place. Wouldn't be a factor. Couldn't pay the money, couldn't borrow it. Money would flow where return was there if you had free interest rates. We don't. And it's because of the Federal Reserve, and it's because of its connection with politics, and its ability to create loans to the federal government. I mean, the whole thing's messed up. Just insane. And I don't know, I hate to digress here, but it is a frustrating topic. I don't know how many people are watching the news on the varying arguments with the debt ceiling. I heard today on the radio, I hope this is not true, but I heard it on the radio, so I guess it must be true. Fox News, what's that, Straight and Balanced or Fair and Balanced? Must be true. Fox News reports that the Congress may be able to just say to the president, it's okay, you can establish the debt ceiling. Don't even bother to call us. It's okay, we trust you, kind sir. I don't know where it comes from. Crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Okay, reducing also Department of Homeland Security, and I kept them as a separate category. I didn't include them with education, energy, commerce, health, human services, and agriculture because they deserve special treatment as the first one on the chopping block. Absolutely to be eliminated. That is the most frightening development I've ever heard of, and it was founded on lies. Okay, lies told by a Republican president and his vice president. Okay, and accusations of treason against anyone who would question those lies. And out of this, we get the Department of Homeland Security. Okay, needs to go away. Yes, it's a jobs program. I will grant them that. I will grant them that. But it needs to go away. It needs to go away first and foremost, and really because of its integration with so many foreign and domestic oriented agencies in our government, it will be a tough nut to crack. Even though it's young, even though it's juvenile in terms of an executive agency or department, it will be very difficult to get rid of it. And yet we have to, we must, or it's the end. It is a symbol, it's emblematic of what's wrong with our country and why the founders would be choking right now if they could see it. Subsidies at home and abroad. Subsidies abroad include some of our foreign aid stuff. Subsidies at home are just huge, and many of the departments I've picked on for special attention: education, energy, health and human services, agriculture, and this touches many lives. And I'm not insensitive to the fact that these subsidies touch many lives, but these subsidies are theft. Okay, it's reallocation of theft, stolen goods, and if you traffic in stolen goods, you are not a good guy. We don't respect people who traffic in stolen goods, knowingly traffic in stolen goods, and yet our government does this. And so it's not acceptable, it's not constitutional, it's wrong. Yes, people have benefited, certain people have, but many more people have been hurt by it. And again, it has nothing to do with the free market. It is a price warping practice. It needs to stop. And of course, reduce taxation. And again, another crazy thing I've heard, and this comes right out of Mr. Obama's mouth repeatedly, I must say, is that the only way to get ourselves out of this problem is to enhance revenue. That might work on Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey gets people who are in debt, and he says, well, what do you got? And what can you sell? And can you take a second job? Absolutely works in a household. Okay? It does not work in unaccountable government, whose very living is made from theft. And so what they're advocating for, well, we haven't stolen enough. We need to steal more. I don't buy that. I don't support that. I don't think Americans support that. So, and I know 6th District people do not support that. So this is part of what I'm looking to reduce. Now, redirect. I want to bring those troops on. I want to redirect many of them to civilian life. Okay, that's what we need to do. And those that can work, that are not going to spend their lives, mentally or physically handicapped beyond recognition. We want to bring them home. And then, do we need a standing military? Well, certainly our founders believed no. We did not need a standing military. I will say this: just like Social Security, there's nobody in this room, and there's nobody that I know that did not grow up under socialism, okay, American socialism. And so there are many things that our grandparents believed were that was normal, and our parents believed that was normal. And we believe, at least as we've been educated, that these things are normal. A standing military for many people is a normal concept. It is not a constitutional concept. So we need to look at that. There may be uses. What I would like to see in the redirection is in the issue of the military, of soldiers, of guys in uniform, guys and gals in uniform. What I'd like to see is simply, if you have to have those guys in uniform, let's put them under the governors. Let's distribute those out, okay? And they'll be ready if they're needed to defend the union, as it were. Meanwhile, I would far more trust the governor not to conduct a secret activity overseas to topple some government and then tell me later about it, a few days later after they've conducted a war in my name with my tax dollars. I don't think governors would do that. Some governors would like to do that. I can name about 5 that probably would love to do that. But I trust them a little bit more. They have a little bit less capability to do that than a president. So, redirect that. Federal power wrongly assumed by executive departments and agencies need to be returned to the states and the people. Particularly that power that has been usurped and is currently exercised by the FDA and the EPA. Now, I said those agencies separate from some of these departments that need to go away.